Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes every. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Hey, good morning. It's a beautiful day out, isn't it? 15 degrees here in Oxford, Michigan. Ooh, winter. And then I'm watching the news, and the guy's there's some other part of the country, and he's going, and it's unusually warm for this time of year. And I'm thinking, but then there's some of us that are sitting at a beach or a poolside right now and enjoying the weather. Not me. I'm here in Michigan and it's 15 degrees. Well, it's a beautiful day, right? Because we woke up. The sun looks like the sun's out and it's supposed to get into the 40s. Not sun tanning weather quite yet, but we're getting there. Let's see who's with us so far this morning. You ready? I just saw there was a few people on here. Ken Gooch. Good morning, Ken. Good. Glad to see you with us. Bert Reggiani also is here. Good morning, gentlemen. Chris Conley by the pool. Brian Flaming. I don't know if you're by a pool or not, but I hope you are. Cam, good morning. And Chris Conley said the sun is out. Okay. It's not funny. I love it. Brian says, I love Michigan. Okay. Do I have to? All right. So then we got Keith. Good morning, Keith. Glad you're with us. And Gojo, Go, and Ike, Jaden, Jet. Man, we got all kinds of people on today. All right. Today's scripture is from 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And we heard Tom talk about it yesterday, and it was fascinating how that Paul writes this stuff, and we think, man, he's so poetic. He's on top of things, right? So let's get started. You ready? Let me pull it up. Oh, I was reading through it this morning and didn't get it started at the right spot. Let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in this age, let him become a fool that he may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is folly with God. For it is written, he catches the wise in their craftiness. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. So let no one boast in men, for all things are yours. Whether Paul or Apollos or Cephas or the world or life or death or present or future, all are yours. And you are Christ, and Christ is God. God's possessive, not plural. All right. So I love how he starts this out, right? He starts this out with let no one deceive themselves. So he's not talking about false teachers here, right? He's not talking about somebody coming in preaching a bad message. And what's funny is we think, well, is he just, this is something that come to him? No, Paul is using scripture again. He's taking scripture and preaching with scripture. This is right out of Jeremiah 8 and 9. It's a caution or a warning that we should be humble in our beliefs. That we think that when we start thinking we're wise, there's a problem, right? And then he continues with the statement, the wisdom of the world is folly. We did Ecclesiastes a few months ago, and how many times did Solomon say the wisdom and the wealth and everything we have is just vanity? It's just a vapor or a mist. It's nothing compared to the wisdom of God. I mean, Solomon was very clear in this, right? And again, the scripture is he's repeating Job 5:13, where he talks about the wisdom of the world is folly. There's so much that Paul does and preaches that comes right out of the Old Testament lessons. Being a Pharisee, he was aware of that stuff, right? Paul tells us that we know, he goes, that God knows the thoughts of the wise. I mean, we read a few days back that compared to God, all man's wisdom is foolishness. We seem wise, but God sees through this kingdom's idea of wisdom, and I think that's where we fall short. We know what we see, what science can tell us, and what the world can tell us, and God's saying there's so much more than that, because they still have yet to explain all the stuff that has happened. They can't explain how Jews walked on dry land through the Red Sea. They can't explain how the walls of Jericho seem to fall. They try, they throw theories at it, but they can't prove it, right? There's so many things that the wisdom of this kingdom can't explain. And so they usually battle it with denial, right? They usually battle it with God's wisdom is far beyond ours, right? And then he goes on in verse 21 and 22 of this one, and he talks about we shouldn't boast in men. Not Paul, not Apollos, not Cephas. Obviously, there was a problem. There's a problem brewing here in the Corinthian church that leaders were put on a pedestal. I mean, we do it. We do it in this day and age. People come and go out of churches because of the pastor, because of the word. I'm fed. I get it. But Jesus never called us to follow a pastor. A pastor should lead. But he has, his limitations are still less than God's, right? The leaders belong to us, I think, and that's the key. That we do not build our churches on the foundation of a pastor or a church leader. They can be an essential part of building that church, but the foundation still has to be Christ. It still has to be God. But then he goes on to say that not only people, but everything in the world is ours. And none of it's outside of God's control. I love that. So, okay, so it was a short section, right? It was very low. What can we glean from this for today? For Ken Gooch or Chris sit next to a pool, what can we take from today's verses and add it to our life and say, that makes a difference? That makes it. I think the one thing, and he's pretty clear on this, is we don't need to impress others with how much we know, right? How wise we are. Realism starts with a humble realization that God is the one that's the wise one. All of human in this kingdom's wisdom falls short of God's. It's silliness compared to God's. And the other thing we can take from this is be careful where you put your trust, where you build, what foundations you use for your life, right? I mean, we even see it in the church, and it's shameful sometimes if the people will twist scripture to fit their theology, or twist theology to fit their wants and desires. We don't need to do that. We have pretty clear examples in scripture, and if we follow them to a T, we're usually pretty good. It does help to have somebody explain them sometimes because they don't make a lot of sense. And we should follow Christ, not people. It's a hard one to say because we all love our pastors and we would probably do anything for them. We just need to know that the church is dependent on us going forward, because eventually that pastor is going to leave. Eventually that pastor is going to retire and find him a condo in Florida on the beach. And we want that for that guy as much as we want it for us. So we have to have a foundation that's solid. And when you feel pressure to prove yourself, this is another one that we could take from today. When we feel pressure to prove ourselves, or we're subject to comparison. I mean, who of us in the workplace hasn't felt like we're being compared to the 3 other people that do the same job as you, or maybe there's stuff going on in our lives where the future's uncertain. Just remember who you belong to, and that you have everything you need. That's what I got for you today, guys. I hope it was a blessing. I'm loving the New Testament. I'm living a dream right now. I don't see any more comments, so I'm going to let that go. I pray as a blessing to you. Have a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in you today.